Day 6, still in Memphis. So I started off my morning driving through the whole town pretty much to a laundromat. The laundromat is run by a nonprofit called South Memphis Alliance, and all the proceeds from the washing machines and the dryers go to the nonprofit. Plus, they use it as a place for social services to come and reach out to those who would need them the most. And driving there, I really saw what people were talking about when they were telling me about problems in Memphis. Blocks after blocks after blocks of abandoned, boarded up homes and commercial properties and warehouses. And okay, so you see those and you see overgrown lawns, and you know the neighborhood is not something to rave about, but when you see stray dogs, you know it's really bad. And in the middle of all that, there's a couple of blocks of beautiful mansions, and it's not even a gated community. And then you keep on driving, and a block or two afterwards, you again get into this urban post-apocalyptic sites. And every block has a drug rehab or something like that. And then you see churches and the ministers and the priests, whatever the denomination is, are just standing outside and giving out food and trying to minister and outreach to people who look homeless and drug addicts. It was just insane. So I got to the laundromat and I did my laundry, and the people there were genuinely surprised to see someone like me hanging out in the place. But I figured anybody who's doing their laundry on a Sunday morning has to be pretty normative. And then I drove back towards downtown to visit the Civil Rights Museum in the Lorraine Hotel, which is the place where Martin Luther King was assassinated back in the 60s. So it was very interesting to see the museum and the protester in front of it claiming that the $28 million spent on the renovation would be much better spent on outreach to the underprivileged community. And you see the building across the street from the hotel where the shooter was located, and the room in the motel in front of which Martin Luther King was shot. So again, the whole place is just so steeped in history. And my next stop was the famous Peabody Hotel in downtown that has a flock of ducks living on the roof. And every morning, and they bring them down in the elevator and march them across the red carpet to the fountain in the lobby. And it's a huge attraction. People come from all over to see it. So I got there just in time, and the elevator doors open up, and there is an usher and a little girl who leads the ducks, and they just run along the red carpet among the throngs of people like nothing bothers them into the fountain in the lobby. So that was really cute. And outside of the hotel, they have like a local walk of fame with duck prints instead of footprints. And they have names of people who I guess played a notable role in the history of the city. And besides Elvis, I was surprised at how big of a Jewish presence Memphis really had. And then my next stop was something that I was dying to do on the trip in 2021 and never got around to it, which was to go to a real Southern Baptist Black church and to see for myself if all the movies and all the stereotypes about Sunday services and the church choirs and the way people worship are really true. And it so happens that Memphis is the home of the Full Gospel Tabernacle Church, where the pastor is Al Green, a famous R&B singer, Grammy Award winner, who after being badly burned in the 70s became an ordained pastor. So look him up on Wikipedia. He's a really colorful personality. Anyway, I pull up into the parking lot and I'm all apprehensive if I can go in the way I'm dressed in jeans and t-shirt. And then a guy in a tracksuit pulls up next to me. and goes in. And I was like, okay, if it works for him, it works for me. So the church is very beautiful from the inside. And oh my God, all these things are actually true. They're real. You know, the elderly black ladies decked out in their Sunday best and the praise Jesuses, and the church choir that is singing amazingly, and the band of young musicians that are accompanying them. And I swear they were just jamming. It was all coming so natural to them. And the sermon by Al Green was fun and moving, and especially when he was talking about why his church doesn't start until 11:30 in the morning, I was like, okay, he must be Chabad. And it was so touching when people were praying for the peace and deliverance to their community from this scourge of crime and drugs. And after driving through the streets of Memphis earlier, I could really understand where this anguish was coming from. And then the guy in the tracksuit that walked in next to me goes up and starts singing. And my jaw drops because, like, oh my God. And as part of the sermon, Al Green was singing, and it was just awesome. What impressed me the most and left the most lasting impression is just how joyful this was. Joyful, I don't have another word to describe it.